Halo, the TV show, Season 2. We're diving in and doing a review which is based on the first two episodes of the season. The first is Sanctuary, the second is Sword. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well so that we can continue covering this season, which I do plan to do week to week. Obviously, we're combining the first 2 weeks here, but going forward, you will be able to come here and chat about what you saw, give your thoughts, and everything like that, and I'd love to know your guys' opinion on the show. We did this with the first season if you'd like to catch up, but for now, let's dive in and let's talk about what is happening in the second season. And yeah, they actually kind of nailed it. I was blown away to a degree. I mean, these first two episodes make basically the first season just kind of like we've I think you might have seen the first season, but yeah, these two episodes are far better than anything they did in that whole season of the show. And you got to keep in mind that these are establishing episodes. They are setting up where the characters are, what's happened over time, where things are headed, and they're very, very well done. If these first two episodes would have been the first season of the show, I think people would have been absolutely in love with this show. I think they would have been so excited to see where things were going to go, the mystery, the intrigue. I think Halo fans would have been blown away. They would have been really, really excited. And I think it would have helped gain more momentum in the greater audience being like, hey, they're adapting the Halo show properly, they're doing it well. And yeah, let's dive in and talk about this a little bit further. So I will try to keep things spoiler free, but I do want to go over certain plot points, where certain characters are at, where everything is headed, and there's a lot that happened here. So the episodes really do kind of center around the idea of kind of jumping past some stuff that happened in the first season. Chief is back to being Chief, played by Pablo Schreiber, and you know what? He's actually giving, I think, a better performance this time around too. They've got him set up with this really interesting new human character. So they've got, in the first season there was Quan, and Quan was the worst ever. Just oh, Quan. So she is in this season, but like not a whole lot, and a new look and a new style, and I think they're doing better things with Quan, but I was just like, oh no, Quan, oh no. But yeah, they've got a new human fold, which I think works well with Master Chief. Like, he's got a Spartan squad. You know, his team is there. There's other Spartan teams. There's other programs that might be in the works from a new manager of the group. You know, maybe a Mr. Ackerson might come into play, who's a really charming and dangerous and cold individual that is interacting and impacting the Spartan squads a little bit. But Master Chief, he's got this new character, and it's not like they're buddy-buddy, but it really does a great job of kind of humanizing and also making the Master Chief a character that does actually care about people, if that makes sense. Like, when you play the games, the Chief, you know, he's a hero, he saves other people. And that's where this character comes in. It's really, really well set up. So in this story, they are adapting the Fall of Reach, obviously, I think is very, very clear from the trailers and whatnot. Reach will probably burn. I don't know. That didn't happen yet, but they're setting the pieces for that sort of thing. I mean, that was kind of pretty blatantly obvious. At least I thought so. So hopefully you're not too surprised. I mean, it didn't happen in the opening shots, but they're creating the idea of a glassing scenario. So all those places that you hated from the first show, they're all burned. Don't even think about it. That's what I'm saying is, like, they kind of skip ahead, if that makes sense. Like, they fix everything, they set everything up in a better place. They're just kind of like, you know, that stuff that didn't really work last season? Just forget about that. And I thought that was really good. And it just kind of was like, yeah, this place burned, this place burned, this place burned. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then we're good to go. And it really was interesting going back to the soldier, as I really like this setup. It's not like I don't think they're going to be hanging out the whole season. I don't know for sure. But it was an interesting idea because it kind of connected the Chief to someone in battle. It was a misty situation. They were doing an evacuation, the UNSC. They're trying to get these people off these places because the Covenant are coming and the Covenant are glassing. And it's like, it's fog, it's mist. What is happening? And there's these soldiers stuck out there. It's kind of like the Flood, where it's sort of like this idea of like, oh, what's happening? And, you know, they're battling, they're shooting, and people are disappearing. And there's this woman, and she's just kind of like, you know, she's like, what's your name? Corporal or whatever. And And then she just like gets just beat and she's scared and the chief is just like okay, and he kicks it into overdrive and he's like blasting and shooting and stabbing and there's like tons of elites and stuff and it's freaking awesome. I loved it. It was so cool. And then you get to see that story kind of continue past that point where you get to see Chief, kind of saving the day because it is about saving humanity, but it's also, the smaller points of humanity, the people. That's kind of what matters. That's the heart of like the point of the story, right? As Chief is he's like a savior dude, but he's a guy that's trying to be the best of humanity to a degree, right? And the show does dive into the idea of like the Chief as a person and John as a person. I don't know if that's necessarily needed as the characters are kind of one, and the idea in the games are more like, are you a person? Are you a machine? Whatever the case is, it's a TV show, so they need to do things to humanize the characters in a different medium. I understand, and it works. It does work in this show. They're setting up something interesting there. But what I really liked was the idea that there was this fold of this person that was interacting with the chief in a way where it's kind of like, it's intriguing. It's kind of like what I was hoping maybe the Quan story would originally become in the first season was kind of this like character that Chief could play off of. But it's neat having a soldier that's actually like in combat and is saved by the chief, and then the fallout of that afterwards. And it's really really quite intriguing, and I'm hoping other episodes kind of carry that little plot bit forward, as I think they could set up some really emotional context and stuff between the individuals at play here. We also get to see where the other Spartans are at. Some are, still trying to get those old wounds kind of cleaned up. You're dealing with all these problems, a growing situation. There's a lot of mystery here. They're just really trying to, in these initial episodes, and again, I've seen two, so if things change wildly throughout the season, cut me some slack. I'm going off of 2 episodes. But they are very eager, Paramount. They want to showcase this stuff as fast as possible. They want to get it into my hands and stuff. They seem very into this season. I think they know they got something good going here. And if these first 2 episodes are anything reflective of that, I think we're in for a really, really great season. Now, I'm not going to say that this is like Succession levels of like craziness where I'm, every episode I'm like edge of my seat, but like as a Halo fan, it was so cool just seeing this stuff in play, seeing a better quality world, crazier action, a better setup scenario for when the chief is going around as a person. Like, it makes more sense. You know what I mean? Keeping the helmet on, but having cool action scenes and keeping the helmet on. It was just really quite well done. And there's a lot of characters that get just small glimpses. They're building things up. One shame, however, is not enough of the Keyes family. I don't think we saw Miranda at all. And then, Mr. Keyes wasn't really in it very much, but I think that's because they're largely setting up Ackerson and the overall plot line that they're going for with that character, which, if you're familiar with the Halo lore, I think you have an idea of where that is going to be headed going forward. I mean, I think that's very apparent. Maybe don't read into it if you're not familiar with it, because it'll be cool to see that kind of play out, but yeah, they're definitely setting up some very intriguing scenarios. They're setting up a situation where it's like, how do you deal with this oncoming force? And there's lots of little teases. There's behind the scenes deception. There's the return of maybe an old flame or two. There's a little bit of Cortana in there too, but maybe in a little bit of a surprise initially, which is a little bit entertaining and a little bit fun. And they got you could say they got a bit of a different design going on for her, which was, to me, very entertaining to see how that played out. But I was really just into this show. I was like, if this would have been the first season, we would have been all just, I think most people, just excited to see where it was going. And as I had stated, it's not like it's crazy Succession levels of TV, but for like a Halo show, this is really, really good. And I don't know if it's because the first season was just so like all over the place. Again, I did review all the episodes if you want to check that out. But I think I'm really, really eager and excited to see where they go. And I was coming in with like the lowest of expectations. I really did not have super high hopes, but I was excited to see what they would do with it. And I'm actually really happy to see where they're going. And I think maybe for the first full time, I am 100% into where they're going and what they're going to do with it. It's also just like a lot more mature and scary in the sense of some scenes. Like, it's kind of basking a little bit in the horror stuff, but it's not like I was like, oh, I'm terrified. But I was getting those vibes and those feelings where they were hitting those marks where it was almost flood-like situations. There's not the flood, guys, and I'm not trying to tease anything there. There's no flood. But the Covenant were coming across as scarier and tactical and really just being there in a menacing way. You know, there was some cool action shots in the first season, but there was nothing that really, I think, set up these forces as being scary and imposing, if that makes sense. I was really, really interested in kind of seeing that different approach. It seems like they're almost different characters, a lot of the characters. I mean, we are seeing them lean on what happened in the first season, but they're definitely going in new directions with this one. And I'm just a lot more happy in where they're going and the direction they're headed. I'm very, very excited to see where the season will end up and where they're headed at this current point in time. Because again, it's just 2 episodes. I could be totally off the mark here. It could go in any direction. I don't know for sure, but I just want to say we're back. We're going good. Obviously, Halo is, my favorite franchise, and I care a lot about the series. And the first season, I was just like, oh, it's like the CW Halo. We're gonna have like 13 seasons of this. And now I'm kind of thinking, oh, maybe more seasons might be a good thing if they keep it up at this level of quality. They're doing some good stuff with what came in the first season. They're removing some weird stuff from the first season, and they're setting up some very interesting situations with different characters. And I can't wait to see where it all goes. So again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well, and I'd love to know your thoughts. And I'll see you for the next episode of the Halo show series with episode 3 when that comes around.